Let's turn our attention to our Portuguese guest who's here to entertain and educate us today. Miguel, what will we learn today? What do you want us to take away today?
Me just bring you my presentation again. I know that you may be already quite used to see a lot of softwares and platforms being presented here to the group. I promise I'm not here to sell you anything in particular. Speaking with Sean, I we were speaking about this challenge of digital health, medical devices, software as medical device, and I wanted to bring a bit based on the work we are doing, not what we are doing at that we are the best platform, all this kind of conversation that I think it will not add anything, but why are we doing that, and why does it fit on the different kind of challenge of the regulatory world that I think all of us are. So it's a bit of this that I want to bring you in as a discussion. I'll be based a bit on what we are doing now as a digital platform, but I'll promise the point is not to sell you, to convince you of anything we are doing. I want mostly to convince you why we are doing those kind of things and why we'll see more and more of these tools being critical for the work we do. Just to start to give you a bit of overview of who we are at Compliar. We are a team based in Portugal, but totally remote. So we have people in Brussels, in Latvia. We work with people all around
I had no
Europe.
idea you were working with Celia. We love her. She's a premium person. Is she coming
Yeah,
up? I know she just had a child. Is she gonna join us today, maybe?
no. But she's in here in the office listening in, so she smiled with your comments. So
Oh, you're
she
in an office now?
yes.
I have to ask, you're not husband and wife and you work at
Yes,
home.
we are. So,
Well, come on. I can't believe I had to probe like that. Bring the baby on.
oh, she's sleeping now. She's sleeping
I
now.
don't care. Wake the child up.
She's sleeping. But I'll promise that
No,
next
you know
time.
what, though?
All right, maybe by the end of the presentation. And for God's sakes, yes, your wife has to come on. Otherwise, we're just going to erase this whole presentation.
Okay. So I'll
Please.
say her to join the events on the link. But yeah, so bringing a bit on the team, we have been working with digital health. Me personally, more on the business side for a lot of time, so helping startups to get navigate these worlds. Celia becoming also expert on this digital health space, and we found out that the work as regulatory people do is quite boring on fixing things that does not make a sense in the digital world as today, um, as the as the knowledge around the medical device increase, especially when computers start creating knowledge that we need to process. And a bit on Compliar, we've been working quite on this journey of digital health. We've been working with Dime the past year on mapping how can you use the same evidence and have a similar pathway to go through different countries around the world, and bring a bit of more clarity on the path for digital health around the world. We are doing a really interesting project, and I'll tell you I'm focusing on this because I think it's quite different from what many others are focusing. Is how can we bring uh, digital solutions, eQMS solutions, to universities. So when a PhD student or master student is doing already something that may become a medical device down the roads, we are not losing 10 years of data, because only when they do a spin-off and they get 5 million of investments, they have a regulatory person and get into a eQMS solution, and we are losing so much data along the way, and we are having this challenge of bringing this additional solution for the Dutch universities, and we'll expand to other universities in Europe and hopefully in the US. Also, can we help on collecting data from day one of a project? We have been also working with different networks, working with providers, so we are quite trying to help everyone navigate this challenge of getting a medical device as a software as medical device approved into the market. And truly, we rarely see most of the teams, most of the people focusing on what is key, that is, how do I make a product of quality? how do I make sure that the safety and the risks of my device are taken into consideration, because they get so overwhelmed on filling out paperwork to please FDA or notified body that it becomes we forget as engineers that we are building a product that is critical and should be safe and of quality. And this especially with software, because this mentality was not something that was driven most of the people in the software world. But the truth is that even on the software side, regulation is increasing oversight, and we are still start having this clash. And in Europe, we see this much more than probably you are seeing now in the US. Naturally, that is AI, software as medical device, that is being developed by people that were used to make prototypes of a software, have bugs, and have someone complain, and they fix the bugs when someone found it out. And now we need to tell them that you need to test things at the point that if there is a bug there, you cannot even put it in the market. You need to have fixed it before. And this is a change of mentality that that probably was not a big issue before, but when we look to the investment of AI, that the majority of it is in healthcare. If you just look to the number of recalls for medical devices from FDA and how majority of them they are coming from software more and more. Software is definitely the main source of risks that we see now. And what is for us the challenge with software and we see with software is not that it's more complicated than doing most of the other medical devices, is that truly you never have a finalized product. Every month you are releasing a new product. Every month you may be releasing something that may not be a medical device today, but tomorrow may be a medical device. And this boils down to this clash with regulations when you start having more and more regulations. And being a European, we love to regulate things, right? And this is just a summary of European regulations, so federal law to compare with the US, that covers the device size, so AI, medical devices. You can be both. You have all liability attached to it. Then you have a bunch of regulations about data spaces. So yeah, creating data, how you access data, how you train a model with data, all of those kind of things have regulations. Then personal data, data privacy, all these aspects. Your device needs to comply regardless if it's just a medical device or not. Then cybersecurity is cybersecurity that a hospital needs to comply. That need to ensure that every device that they put on the hospital complies with those kind of regulations. And honestly, we can complain a lot about the regulatory aspect of Europe that is too much. But if you go to our engineering roots and biomedical engineering roots, all those requirements are justified in 19% of them. It may be too much paperwork in some cases, but in general, how can you justify that those things are not required? So that's what would bring us to this kind of challenge of how do we manage this complexity? How do we look to the medical device, not at something at the regulatory things is something, okay, let's speak with Michelle or other kind of experts when we already have our amazing device, and we just want to go through FDA because we have no doubt that our device is amazing. And it's a challenge in software that a lot of the things you do early on will impact the results of what you're doing. I often say to researchers of AI at the universities that 80% of the work that you are doing will go to garbage because you are not following basic data management procedures. That means that the model that you are created needs to be recreated in a proper way to be deployed in a hospital. And we connect these kind of challenges with more and more paperwork. So these are some statistics of FDA of the size of a 510K. So we come to this world where we are just creating more paper for the regulator to see more paper. And I think many of the solutions that we are seeing out there coming up is how can you use AI to create the paper quicker. So honestly, what that leads is that we can even create more paper, and we're just increasing the paperwork about our products. And this is the old way of doing things. It makes sense when there was not much paperwork. Even FDA today, or let's say last year, were discussing how to use AI to streamline the revision of paperwork. So we'll end up with these walls if we just focus on doing things the old way, especially these digital health solutions or creating paperwork with AI for someone to read the paperwork with AI. And that's where we are pushing, and many are also pushing for, let's ditch documents and focus on data. I think FDA is doing a good work on that sense, or was doing. Let's always be careful with what will happen from now on. But on stopping to have like a big technical documentation PDF like we have in Europe or was previous submissions, to have a more structured data of inputs, outputs. And the point here is that we came to a challenge, and was the motivation to create Complear, is how can we create an ecosystem that really drives around data, where we can communicate data between the stakeholders, and we can allow AI and machines to work with humans in that data. This is an overview of an initiative from the ISO of the SMART standards, where these are the level of smartness, let's say, of the standards. So the standards themselves, but if we think about the technical documentation, we can also see the parallels between the two worlds, where we are still today in what is okay, let's not just have a PDF file as a standard, let's have something that the machine can read without OCR, to a point where we'll have a new standard coming up, and our team will receive tasks of things that they need to change, that our team will have notes where things they need to review on the technical documentation, and where they will receive information because a machine was able to process and control what needs to be done. And if you think in a world that we'll see more and more a lot of our work being done by AI agents, how a lot of the regulatory work can be done automatically by AI agent, because there was a new standard that poses some new requirements that can be done by AI agent, that we do not need to be in the loop or doing all the steps in the way. We can just be on the loop along the way. And this is a bit of the vision that let us talk. How can we create a software that helps to build on this new perspective of the worlds, and not just trying to digitize the old way of doing things. And this boils down on connecting how can you build a knowledge base of a software, and realizing that this knowledge base start being created probably at university by PhD students before there is a spin-off of the university, if you think about more deep tech kind of medical devices. And then is a continuum of collecting data that we need to keep structured, that we need to keep collecting, and we'll move probably from stakeholder to stakeholder through the value chain. And then when it arrives to a hospital, and the hospital needs to assess that kind of compliance, it needs to have more automated ways to check the compliance along that journey. And when we speak about hospitals, it's because I don't believe regulators will be able to keep up with all the regulation. Eventually, will depend a lot on the relationships between entities, organizations. How can we communicate trust through the regulatory work, and not just filling out paperwork for pleasing FDA officer? Yeah, so in this sense, this is the mission of Complear, and why we are focusing on building digital tool for this future of regulatory compliance. That we see the need for digital health. The work that is done for more traditional medical devices is still hard. You can benefit a lot from digitalization, but digital health is not sustainable without it. If we do not bring a new level of digitalization, of managing this data, what we see is that there is a compromise. It's just overwhelming that even auditors just don't check most of the things. Most of the things just pass because you as a human being are not able to go through um, all the small details, all the small regulations, and this is a bit what we try to go around. It's not how to decrease regulations, how can we make regulation more digestible for people? And this is a bit, before jumping a bit what we are doing as a solution, I just wanted to stop here with some of these gaps and hurdles that we felt along the way, and we see along the way, that start from the beginning of the project, where most of the people do not know which regulations apply to them, and just fixing this hurdle. And I remember some of the past sessions that we were discussing, some of you asking about how can I guide someone what they need to do at a certain level in some of the platforms. Just this is a big need that we found out.
Miguel, allow me to interrupt. I've been,
No, I will interrupt and probably have a bit of discussion at this stage
that's
before
okay.
going.
I'm very honest. I haven't listened to a word you've said in the last 10 minutes because I have been chatting nonstop with your wife. I'm so excited to see her. And in that time, I have learned that you have 20 people at your company, which shocked me. And that I was like, okay, you have investors? No, you're bootstrapped. And I'm like, okay, are you guys independently wealthy? No, not right now, not certainly with your newborn. And that in Portugal, salaries are typically low, so your overhead isn't that bad, and that you are bootstrapping and funding this with your own money, but also that you and she have clients as a consultancy, and that the product that you're sharing with us today is not yet on the market. I just think that that element would be interesting for a lot of entrepreneurs on this call, that because I'm thinking like, wow, you guys just had a kid and you're both in this. And so where's the stability? I would be very, very frightened to do what you're doing. So you're brave. I'll give you that. Celia, if you want to come off mute and talk to this a bit, I think that'd be interesting for folks, how you guys talked about this and say, so we doing this? I know that at your last company, you did similar work. I'd be interested in like the conversation, Miguel. I don't know where you were before this, how you guys said, this is the right thing for our family. I think, yes, please do. Celia.
Yeah, maybe I can start, Miguel. But also feel free to jump in so we can do a little bit backwards. So to where this the idea for Complear came from. So I was working before at PicMed. I was doing regulatory affairs work, and we felt the pain that regulatory affairs people do, especially later times where paper-based, everything was, I mean, it's difficult to do all the work manually. Plus, I was learning a lot for just a company, and we knew that in Portugal and overall, especially for software and AI, there was still not yet many people in that field. So it was, Miguel also comes a little bit from the regulatory field. I was doing a PhD more focus in more in the Miguel, help me here.
Yeah, so I've been working before coming to digital health on the wild west of stem cells.
Yeah.
So and how we regulate these kind of innovations that you cannot approve simply. I remember when I was speaking with pharma and biotech companies, I have no clue where the cells were heading inside the body. So how can we ensure that 10 years from injection they were not causing cancer in the brain? they have no clue where the cells were going. And this brings a bit on this kind of challenge of AI. Like if you really try to ensure everything is 100% safe, then we don't have anything. But you have benefits. You are seeing benefits. So regulating this innovation is something that I was our passion. And again, we created Compliar. Celia was full-time first. I've been working with the EI, with the European ecosystem of startups. So I know almost every startup in Europe, quite connected with the ecosystem. So it makes easy for us to bootstrap because we don't start in Portugal simply, okay, try to sell from Portugal. We have clients from Romania, from Estonia, from big 500 companies from the US that come from this network that we already had before. So also
that stem cell work you did, are you with that company at all anymore?
no. It was part of my PhD studies. So I was doing some work with MIT back then on this.
You
How do
undersold
we
yourself completely. Now you just casually dropped my PhD at MIT. I mean, what? Come on. I
it's
was like, who's this guy Sean is introducing us to? And then I have to pry to learn that not only are you Celia's husband, which is more important than the PhD, but that you just casually worked on stem cells, know everyone in Europe, and went to MIT.
yeah. But again, does not make the challenge easier to
Doesn't make the
fix.
challenge any easier. You still have to market the product. But apparently,
Yeah.
so how many ongoing consultancy jobs do you guys have while you're also developing a product to launch?
So I was checking the numbers. We have around 20 clients at the same time.
This is not adding up. You are servicing 20 clients. You have 20 employees working on software development to launch, and you have a newborn.
No, our team is half consultants, so we have some here that join. Like Caroline is also one of the rising stars in the fields, working with us.
We get
We
a round
also
of applause for these people on camera. I mean, really, that is
Yeah, plus for the
quite
team.
pleased.
we also have here in the list. I was seeing Marianne Oliver that is doing a PhD, her PhD with us on regulatory science. So she's even more brave because doing a PhD in this field is even for the bravest. But yeah, but in a nutshell, I think and I think this group, this passion about regulatory improving things, is what drives us in the end. When we did the jump, we don't feel that anyone is our competitor in the end. There's so much thing to be done. If any of us can really help creating more awareness, simplifying things, helping each of their clients to become a better products, we are helping so many people. So I think I really like this work as community more than just feeling that we are competing, and that makes easy the risk, because I was commenting with Shen, we don't do much advertising per se. Like probably these kind of events can be a bit of advertising for some reason, but usually there is so many companies, entrepreneurs, innovators a bit lost in these fields that I wish to have more expert people to recommend to many of the times. So we
Let me
don't need
ask,
to 20 people at the 20 projects at the same time.
before we put your slides back on, and again, I've already admitted that I haven't listened to a word you've said. Can you help me understand what are you doing that you feel no one is doing? There's plenty of software out there. So what do you feel is missing from everyone that you need to develop your own thing?
So as I was explaining in my part, but I'll come back for you. Is that we are in a business that we are managing knowledge, and we need to manage this data across different areas, and it's the connection between this knowledge that allow us to bring the world of AI inside of healthcare. So having AI system or software that is really focused on my eQMS or my data privacy or my technical documentation or my post-market surveillance is too scattered to be really causing impacts, because that means that we will never replacing the brains of Celia and many of here that are the brains of the companies that know where in that paper something is when you need to change. And this is kind of connecting that we felt, okay, we see a lot of softwares that help to do documentation. By the way, we started Complear before ChatGPT, so there was no. I think I'm not sure if Greenlight Guru was launching AI solution by then in 2020, 2021, but none of the other AI solutions existed by then.
What was your insight then, or were you aware enough that it was coming and you were building and waiting for this piece to be dropped in? I mean,
yes. Of course, our roadmap was let's get a lot of clients, let's get a lot of data, and then learn from the data how things connect with each other and build AI. Now we have these fundamental models that know much more than we do many of the times. They are just pretty good liars. So we need to be careful, because when they don't know, they pretend really well that they know. But they know a lot more than probably much of our clients. So how can we help? Now we are able to help them to do a quality of work that together with humans can really expedite a lot of the journey. The challenge we see with digital health, and that's what on the difference, is that nobody's looking to the full vertical. So we are many times trying to solve. I do post-market clinical follow-ups or do PMS studies. How do I bring AI to fix that my kind of job? But how things are interconnected. For instance, we are working with some partners that are building these tools with AI for literature research, literature review. How can you provide them the keywords to be able to search, because we know the products and we
there are
can
two
derive.
things you brought up that are acutely interesting to me. And I kind of knew this before, but you said it in a crystallized way I've not heard before. And that is that when ChatGPT or its equivalent doesn't know the answer, they make shit up to make like they know the answer. Are you aware of any safeguards being built so that ChatGPT can be mature enough to say, I don't know, let me get back to you, as opposed to giving us bad information? That's question one. Question two is, isn't there some kind of industry leader in this space that has a lot more money and a lot more resources than you? I mean, Rick writes, build a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door. But isn't someone else trying to do the same thing you are? Like, why do you believe that you can do it relative to some, I don't even know who the players are, some big player trying to do what you're doing?
So I think we have touching first on the AI topic, and again, that's what I was saying. We do regulatory science. We have multiple projects that we are working with our clients how to develop AI validation methods and how we develop AI models for healthcare that then we can also apply to these fields. And many of those concerns, the same concern, how do I give a wrong diagnostic to a patient, and to be also how do I give a wrong risk to a manufacturer to be put on, and this is a level of work that we understand that we need to work on that side. And the beauty of this is that the big players like Google, OpenAI, they are focusing on the big models. They are the internet of the new age. So they are building the servers, they are building the connections, they are building the browsers. They are not building the apps, the specific apps that need to bring this niche knowledge. So with that way, you rule out the big players. Those big tech players, this is not their fields. This needs to come from us. So it's from who is expert in the field, in the terrain, who is doing regulatory work and understands what are the hurdles. Those are the ones that can build this niche models that are really tailored to our practice. And in that sense, there's also something on our story that we are a bit different from probably many of the big players out there, is that we are not selling to big medtech. We are not selling to big pharma. Those have different challenges that we are solving. The digitalization of big companies is a big challenge for anyone to sell to. We are working with universities from day one, and when we go through the product, I'll highlight these kind of challenges. How do I convince a PhD students to document risks? These are our challenge, and I don't see anyone at this stage focusing on these kind of challenges. There are many building tools for the risk managers, for the risk engineers, for the quality assurance people, but those are just part of the story in the end. Those are the people that suffer a lot because someone didn't do their job before, and this is what we do understood that we need to fix is how can we fix the collection of data when it's generated, and that is how we convince someone to use a tool that is not built to build rockets and go to the moon, when they just need to collect some risks during their PhD work. And this is an angle that we believe that we don't see others looking into it. They are fixing issues for many of us on our specific roles, not the ones that don't want to listen about regulatory.
Michelle, you had your hand raised?
Oh, yeah. So this is, he got at the heart of why I generally don't recommend eQMSs, because they were not designed for medical devices. They were not mid-sized companies. They were giants of like automotive, like aerospace, like all those things. And they're like, oh, all these things can be shoved onto medical devices. And then they imposed controls that were not needed, and they didn't have controls that were needed. And it just created chaos. And I also like have a adversity to the word agile, because it means that we are anti-documentation, and we do not generate anything that the FDA wants to see, because the FDA still wants to see a document come out of an eQMS. And so few can do it.
Agile is anti-documentation.
Oh, for sure. Luke is going to disagree, but
No,
as a regulator, I've never gotten what I needed to put in a submission from an agile process. I'll just say that.
No, I agree with agile is only useful in the proof of concept phase of a device or a product. Then you can do quick things, but the moment you start with design controls, you're into change management and that kind of stuff. No, but I was triggered by the slide where you made the comparison between a medical device and software as a medical device, because it had so many loops. But doesn't that stem from the general behavior of programmers to write code and bring it out very fast without checking it first? I mean, I know a company in the Netherlands that make an hospital information system that's huge. And they were very successful. And I said, well, bringing a medical device to market is a lot harder than a bit of software. And then he said, yeah, but listen to this. There are always changing regulations from the government. There are always people wanting to have extra features this and extra things there. And he said, what our strongest point is that we have built such a system that we can verify and validate our software, that we can, if we have to stop now, we have validated in 2 weeks. And these are huge systems. So that is the biggest advantage of how they make their software. So with software as a medical device or AI as a medical device, if at first there would be much more emphasis on what you build, you have to validate and verify it. You have validation and verification in the beginning. You invent something, you already must think, and how can I verify and validate it? And then I don't think you have that much loops in your development process.
Yeah, if
That's
I
my
can
2
bring
cents.
it, I think I can touch in 2 points that are relevant to this discussion. First, more than the speeds of things, and one thing we discovered, and we only work with digital health. So, and what we discovered is that when someone comes to us, is my device a medical device? And I know more Michelle here. I don't know who's more in the audience. Does this work daily on helping someone to understand if they are a medical device or not? I cannot assume just what they tell me. I need to consider all the scenarios of what they may be building, because my client, as usually startups, the moment they start speaking with a doctor, they may quickly go from what is not a medical device today to a medical device in 2 weeks because they just add a new feature. And this new feature is probably only 5% more than the rest of things, but more than just the agile constant releases is because you need to maintain multiple scenarios that still exist inside the company. Probably only one comes to the market next month, but you may have it reappearing as a medical device later on. And this journey touch on the second point of what you're saying is, how do I educate a PG student? How do I educate a software engineer that is rushing to launch their product because they feel this I need to deploy this on understanding that there is this traceability of things. And we struggle so much on like with Jira. We have clients that took 1 year just to implement basic implementations of things in Jira, and it's a bit of our control because those tools were not built for traceability. While if I show to someone, here's your requirements, you need to have a test in the end to close this loop, it creates more the mentality of the basic principles of traceability, of if you have a requirement, you need to have a test in the end. And then it builds up that many of those tests today with the software, they are automatic. You need to connect to the codes. The documentation may be generated by the codes directly as they run things, and you leave part for humans to check part of those humans that now can be done with AI in many of the cases. And this is a bit of the challenge that we are trying to build a bit for these worlds, because of course traceability is the backbone of every eQMS that does not work only with documents, also work with data. But the point is, I think you point out, how can we bring this education to early on? How can we really educate people that do not know what is traceability, or at least they don't understand the power of traceability? And keep it as simple as them, because before they go to the big eQMS solution that Michelle was mentioning, they need to have a light version of it, but they are already building data that needs to feed to more complex systems down the road.
Fair enough. I have careened you off script. Go ahead and bring your slides back, and
No,
thank you for indulging.
I promised that I was not here to sell our solution, so I think this is
got it.
And
And
is a
yet
bit
we
other.
want to hear about it, so please re-engage us with your presentation.
Is the vision of the world that's honestly the more that can also help to build this, the best. We are not sure.
By the way, that Carolina is a member of your team. Just quickly, Carolina,
Yeah.
if you come off mute, how did you discover them? Are you a doctor getting your doctorate?
No, no, no. I worked before at SGS notified body, and I was giving a class at university, my previous university, and my teacher told me about Complear, that there was a startup in Portugal doing more or less the same as I was doing at SGS. And I decided to just send an email, see if we can introduce myself to Miguel. And at the same day, I had a job offer in my email. So we had a meeting, and yeah, it was just a click. And since July that I'm working for Complear.
Very nice. Well, good luck in your young career. Okay,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Bossman, please continue
But
your presentation.
it's not every day that you can have someone coming from a notified body to a startup. Usually they are the ones stealing people from startups. So that is good.
And yeah, and we usually don't hire people on the same day. It was our fastest hire for sure. But yeah, we didn't want to lose her.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me I'll explain a bit of the pieces of the things that we're doing on our platform, and again, why we're doing that. That's that for me. I think and again, we are not sure that this will be the solution. We are not sure that this will fix the issues that I mentioned. We are trying to take take into it, and that's a purpose of what we are building is to try to solve this complexity in a simple way, and that is the hardest thing to do in the end. So in a nutshell, we are bringing together with this what you can call electronic QMS, electronic technical documentation system, alongside with these products and strategy definitions. So how can we help someone to understand what regulations apply to them? If they need to be a medical device, if they are not a medical device, do I need to comply with the AI Act? So everything that goes around digital health solutions, so not just for medical devices, and that builds collaboration inside. So collaboration within the team, but also collaboration across organizations. And just before our session, we are having a session on AI, on the AI Act in Europe, and I was having someone asking, can we use ChatGPT for our medical device? And I said, yes, you can, as long as they have the documentation that you are required to provide for your medical device. And as far as I know, OpenAI does not provide that technical documentation on how they train the data, how they do a lot of the stuff. And this boils a bit on this idea, on this perspective of the digital health worlds, where things are so interconnected between different entities that we need to think about documentation and data not within how I, as a big company, I manage different departments, but how do I really have a technical documentation that starts at university, goes probably gets some parts from OpenAI, goes to a startup, and then is acquired by a big medtech company. And through that journey, that data needs to support compliance requirements along the way. So we have a focus, of course, on how can we help people to classify if a medical device. This in Europe is a big challenge, especially for software. We did a thesis just on how to improve the framework to classify a medical device. We are deploying AI to help to reply to those questions. So we can do it at scale. So imagine that every student at university may understand if their product may be a medical device or not. As you can understand, I'll not be able to bootstrap if that's my work as a consultant. Have to charge 10 years per hour to be able to do so. So how can we scale this initial support? So tell me about your products. We guide you through to reply to questions based on with AI, and in the end, you get you get an answer of you are a medical device or not that then you can discuss with a human, with an expert, but expedite all that process. If you want to interrupt and make any question, let me know. I'll just go through some of the features, leaving the best to the end. I think some of the others are more like we need to have that because otherwise you cannot replace other eQMSs. But a bit on the end, I left the things that we want to really do differently. But at this stage,
Miguel,
think, yeah,
as,
go, John.
as your marketing friend, I'll offer unsolicited counsel. On this slide, for example, it's pretty, but you're using so much white space and the screen. I would sooner take off the logo, take off I take off everything other than the screen, because I can't make out what any of those boxes say in the future.
Good point. Good point. But
Maybe
here
even now, what you can do is take it off this pretty way and just show us the whole slide and make it bigger so we can see what's in the middle. Thank you, that's better.
yeah, but here not going in much detail. Here is mostly how we try to structure the information through data in data slots. So what are requirements? What are risks? Not playing with documents already. So the goal is how we document data, not how we document how we do a document in the end, and focus on the data, because the data will translate in the document for FDA in a different format, will translate to different purpose in different formats, and we want to organize these across data formats. The big hurdle that we are having and sharing with you here is we need standards around data structure for regulatory, and that is still start to be built in some FDA is trying to do that with their eStars. There is some discussions how what is the composition of intended purpose and so on. But I
You're saying
think
that the regulatory bodies themselves don't have standards, so how are you supposed to build standards for them?
that's what I'm saying. This is something we don't aim to solve, but we will see this transition happening in the future, where it will be easy for me to migrate my data to FDA because we have a standard way of communicating regulatory data of a medical device. Until then,
Michelle is very much in your space. Michelle, may I ask you to come back on camera and ask the team questions that are relevant to how you might use a product like this, because this is well out of my wheelhouse. Like this screen, for example, do you know how you would use it or why you would use it, Michelle Lott?
Well, this is fascinating because I have a new client that has got a interesting AI project that may or may not be a medical device. But when we're getting into this EHR data export, that's a big deal with the 21st century cures in the US. So it's interesting to see like some of these things that I'm working through right now from a whole different regulatory perspective, you know, kind of being built in.
yeah,
And if you go back a few slides or refresh my memory a few minutes ago, I was going to comment on something you said, and I can't remember now because I am of that age.
But was on this slide or a previous slide before?
Was it on the screen before where he showed another picture of the product? That one?
No.
No.
So the previous slide was before we are speaking
Okay.
or long
When we're just
conversation.
talking about something. Yeah. You left my brain.
You stay on camera because
Yeah, but for the sake of time, I'm just going through some of these initial features in a bit more like an overview of things. Again, this I was saying, this is not novelties for sure. This is how we look into data and making sure that you can keep track of the full journey of what is being done. What I wanted to show here on these slides that that I hope is a bit more zoom here that makes it easier to see is that we are bringing we face this challenge when we start working with universities. Is okay, we have this big fancy, we can collect every data about your medical device, but what do I need to see when I'm at the concept phase? Imagine Michelle, okay, you only want to know what is this a medical device or not. I just want you to provide me this information. I don't want to see all the rest of the things. I don't want to overburden this PG student that came to me.
So it'll do the classification for you, like if you are a medical device or not, like, or if you're a CDS, CDX.
This is one of the features of classification, helping to classify. What I was bringing here is how can we have different lenses to look to the same eQMS? So we can have a light version for those of concept phase. They don't need to feel a lot of things yet, but at the same time, we can.
I'm going to completely interrupt. Andre, are you okay? Okay, sleeping is one thing. You just look unwell, like we're alarmed. I'm alarmed. Come off mute and assure us that you are okay.
I'm fine. I'm just fixing my watch.
Fixing your watch. How embarrassing for all of us. Please continue to fix your watch, Miguel. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem, no problem. So
He
I
doesn't
was
show
bringing.
up at my conferences either, so we already have an issue with Andre.
I was bringing more in this point of the guidance because the key challenge and what we are building with our clients and these use cases, how can we keep this simpler, not aiming to have a simple platform that does not do most of what we do, but how can we keep it simple to the correct to the stage that the user is, and that's a tricky. So we need a platform to evolve with the user and not have the user move from platforms because they evolved. And this is a bit of the tricky of what we are trying to have a mechanism that allow people to, okay, you don't need to care about risk at this moment. This is not the stage you are. Focus on this, and we can guide them at this stage. But yeah, and another thing when we go into documents, and Michelle was saying, we still live in a wall of documents, and here there is a lot of solutions that help you to create documents in a more automated way out of data. Our take on here, and actually was the main motivation for Complear platform when we created, is why the hell we have that on that documents? What rule or what guidance justify that paragraph? Why do I need to do management reviews every year? Where is the rule that says that I need to do so? And if you work with clients as consultants, they question everything that you ask them to do until you show them the rule that they need. Okay, this is by law, we need to do so. So we felt that we had to bring this knowledge base, this knowledge graph of the product, also to the knowledge around the products. And how can we pinpoint to specific points of why you're collecting the risks, why this paragraph is like this, to not
So
only
Miguel,
the products, but the regulation standards and so on. Yes, Michelle.
is this like an end-to-end solution? So like it's got everything from initial design development, like user needs, all the way through design and then into commercialization, like the activities
Yeah.
that you have to do in commercialization. So it's like the whole package.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That is data, but that is data for someone in the concept phase. They don't need to care. And if you show them that they have 20 menus to go through, they get overburdened. So how can we show, okay, at this stage, focus on that. When you're already in the market, then other data pieces appear.
So was that a yes?
Yes. It was a yes. Was nodding with my head. But I was bringing this, that's what this knowledge graph is something that we felt that nobody was tackling, is how do I bring the knowledge of what I need to know? Why do I need to do certain things to the point where I wrote something? Because this is the challenge of how do I come back to certain things? And what we see in the industry is that we have a lot of artifacts from big companies. And I think, Michelle, you speak about it some of the times, that, okay, why do we have this procedure? Nobody knows why. Someone.
Exactly. And that I see a lot of software companies, they're just chasing the enterprise, because as soon as they get funded, and this just happened to Greenlight Brewer, especially if they get private equity, like all the regulations and the stuff that actually matters is out the window. It's all about, like, did you get an enterprise client? It's also just happened to Basil Systems. And that's all that they're after is the enterprise, and the enterprise does not really understand the regulations anymore.
So this actually, I forgot to pinpoint, we are bootstrapping because we want to avoid to bring investors in, because the moment we bring investors, they want us
Yeah.
to Siemens
Yep.
and the
Yep.
big guys, and you can look to many of our competitors, the big guys, let's you can call it, they are not tailoring to the same clients that we are, because if you
Good for
you
you.
only bootstrapping is a struggle. I'll prefer to have 10 millions in the bank and focus on product development. But at this stage, we try to balance bootstrapping, building things with our clients, and building a software that can tailor to a new world. I'll not say that it's not something we'll get more money than the others. It's just at the point that it's really hard to convince to investors why you are not selling to Siemens and solving Siemens issues when we try to solve a PhD.
I've seen a lot of people that threw millions of dollars into trying to customize their product for like a big company, like you said, like millions and millions, just for this one installation, and no other client wanted that.
Mm-hmm.
And so once they made the money off that one installation, it was just a subscription after that, you know?
Yeah.
And they could have spent the millions like making their product actually do what it needed to do, not what Siemens thought of how design controls worked.
Mm-hmm.
Because
So I'm going to interrupt for a second, because a lot of people are jumping off the call. So I wanted to highlight a couple things. One, this kind of interaction that we're having, and the idea that we've, presented a software company which is tailored to the smaller enterprise or the smaller device company, is really essential. I would like to underscore how you can collaborate, each of you, with Miguel and company, Complier, and I'm going to put his email address in the chat.
And you can also interact with Celia on MDG Premium.
And Celia on MDG Premium.
Spelling.
I invite you to collaborate with them and to form a connection. It may be that you have clients that could use this product. It may be that you could use this product. It may be, but it's definitely worth exploring further. And I'm sorry that we're running out of time. But this is fascinating, so we'll have to have them back.
Eddie, you have something?
No, well, for me, this is interesting, but it's not me. It's my team who actually need to connect with you guys, the folks who actually know things about technical files. As Michelle knows, I know very little.
Your company now, Eddie.
Well, as of today, we have just extended an offer that's been accepted for I think this will be our 8th employee. So,
And have sales commenced?
as a matter of fact, we are shipping 5 boxes to 3 countries next week.
And each box contains what?
15 devices. So a year's supply for each person, or 3 months for 5 people.
Just think, I knew you before you became really rich.
We're not there yet. We're not
I
there
know,
yet, but
that's why I knew you before.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, and we had one of our devices most recently was used. It's supposed to be for 30 days, and the urologist said, it's still working.
stop talking, Ed. Stop.
It was no,
Stop.
we put a notice.
Stop.
We put a notice.
Should I cut off his mic, Michelle?
Actually, this interesting point of Michelle, on the medtech space compared with pharma space, I remember organizing some webinars with pharma, and we couldn't have even the comments on, because if there is any comment of complaint about article, it will be a big issue within the company. And I never saw a company, especially small ones, to care about social media monitoring, this kind of complaint. It's interesting how same rules for the two different industries.
I just have Ed's best interest at heart. I don't think anybody else would have told Ed to stop talking.
And I appreciate it, Michelle.
It is pretty cool, though. I'll just say that. Like you can say it was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it was.
Miguel, what would be the best thing to come out of today's conversation? Are you looking for beta testers? What could a group like this do for you most?
No, so definitely. So we'll be focusing on 2025 to I said, I'm not here to sell. We went to beta
I got it. Not selling. We got it. But what do you need most?
So we'll be launching our platform, a beta version by the end of next month. So those that want to give feedback, try, say, okay, this is, we really want to fine tune the usability to make sure that we keep things as simple as possible. Two things complicated, I think everyone here knows how to do it. The complex parts, how this is fully complex, but how to put it simple. We really need to build it with people. So if you have people in your team that feel this struggle, and I think most of people feel the struggle, we love to have inputs to understand how can we keep this again, not customized to you, like Michelle was saying, not at the purpose, but really makes sense that this makes sense to be used.
When this is fully functional, what will your clients stop doing? What will this replace in their current routine?
This will replace their eQMS solution, so they do not need to trying to fit things on Jira to implement traceability. They do not need to move to any.
What about virtual QMS and paper?
Yes, so and they did stop using paper. So
Stephanie, you want to let's see, are you you're not a panelist, but I can have you talk. I made your thing available if you want to ask your question on camera, or if you need me to read it. Stephanie?
I'll do it without camera. It's Stephanie Grassman here. I just came back from holidays, so apologies that I'm not on camera. I just have a question with regards to electronic signatures. I've had in the past where one of the manufacturers submitted the technical file and had added my signature to the technical file. This was a previous customer of mine, and then I got a deficiency report, and I was asked to address all the deficiencies. And I said, this is not my work. And then they said, well, your signature is here. And then I got passed on the Microsoft Word document, and my signature had been copied into the technical file and like into the clinical evaluation. Have you looked at electronic signatures? For me, it's really important that my signature doesn't get copied into something that I haven't done.
No, that's a good point, because definitely one thing that our clients will stop using and caring is about this electronic signatures and move to FDA compliant signatures that should avoid what happened to you, because your signature will never appear in our platform, or a stamp of approved by you if someone does not have your password and your login, and definitely the old way. A lot of companies, when they just have a print copy of a signature and is in the document, it's really easy to do this kind of frauds without any kind of control. But definitely that is essential part of the platform, definitely.
Thank you.
What you describe is part 11. FDA Part 11 with compliance, that is something we need to have.
You have a sense when you are fully functional, what kind of price point you're looking at?
So the pricing is actually something we're experimenting, because we want to attach pricing to value and not users. how that should play around is not yet fully clear. How can we capture the value of using the platform? And I see value is not just time saved.
Oh, so you're gonna try to not make it a number of people that are actually on
No,
the platform.
that is stupid. You want collaboration and you are paying for you.
Exactly. Exactly,
is
because then people like don't put people on it that need to be on it because they only have so many seats, right?
Or they'll just use different people the same
Password.
account, which also
Yeah.
is not the purpose.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that
Which
does not
would
make
be
sense.
similar to putting
Actually, to
Stephanie's-
Stephanie's question just now.
Mhm. Okay, so the company has a license. Can you give us a sense? I don't know what it is relative to what they're presently paying for their QMS solutions. Are you at parity, higher, lower? But
The cost of software is low, so the point is how much does it make sense to be sustainable? Point one, and that help us because we don't need to please investors, and that's why we try to avoid investors as much as we can for that purpose. And then the second point is that there is a new way of working with these platforms where you are working with AI agents, we are working with automations, and for us it made more sense to embed these kind of helpers around the platform that you pay for when you need, but we have a basic level of things that you can do without even paying, and we will be doing that with universities. Like if it boils down what Michelle was saying, what kind of pricing schemes that actually do not promote compliance, because people will avoid it later on before they have money, or they don't bring their team because they're paying for users. And that's why, how can we attach to the value? For me, it will be perfect if I just get paid if they get approved by FDA. They pay much more than probably they'll pay for the other QMSs, but at least we are aligned. Only if I help them, they get paid. This is a bit of still things that we are exploring. How can we go away from the more typical software as a service payment scheme that many solutions have? So pricing wise, we can always be cheaper than the others. That is not the issue. We just want to make sure that we share the value with our clients. And this is reshaping.
One
we
of
are
the
15 minutes past the hour. Do you have a closing thought for us?
I have a
I
close
was-
for them.
Okay.
So one of the best pieces of advice that I got was get them using the product and the money will come. I think that you should focus on usage. I think that you should focus on getting people hooked on the product, getting them loving the product, getting them evangelizing about the product, and the money will come. So focus on usability, focus on utility.
Sounds like they're there.
Yeah.
I mean, our first clients from consultancy, some of them are waiting for the platform, so they'll be our first users, and hopefully our evangelists and the ones that will be telling good things about the platform. And then from there we can evolve into selling these not as a within the service, but as a product by itself. Exactly how, yeah, like Miguel was saying, still trying to better understand the pricing and
Try not to copy what everyone does. So it's not that we have no clue, that we don't have, we could not say something that that will be objective. But I think a bit of our challenge of innovators in this field is how can we not go in the same path that everyone goes.
I'm putting in the chat for everyone an article I wrote a long time ago called "You Make Me Blush," and it is my prescription for how to get the best testimonials. So when it does come time for someone to maybe say something nice, that's something that you can do. Next week, we have Kevin talking about finding the right med tech opportunities at the right time. And then the week after, fan favorite Michelle Lott returns in her glory with Renee to talk to us about commercialization pitfalls. And if I'm not mistaken, you just held a webinar on that topic. And how did that go?
We did. We had great feedback, lots of questions, and people seem to appreciate the perspectives that we shared. And so Renee and I were two halves of a whole. That's,
Or-
that's well, it's like everything that you need to bring a medical device to market, except for regulatory. No, except for reimbursement, sorry. I'm regulatory. Except for reimbursement, me and Renee, check all the boxes together. And
So
she's
the
met
happy
from-
part is that at the end of it, she launched a program called a Lean Launchpad, which is specifically designed for startups and offers a set consulting price per month. So it's basically consulting as a service. And you're able to access this at a set fee, which makes your development predictable. And so that this is ideal for any small company that's like, we need some help. We don't need help all the time. We're not ready to hire yet, and the response has been fantastic. So we're getting ready to go.
We had people sign up immediately. It's
Okay.
wild.
We created a landing page for it. I'll share the landing page with the
How
group.
much are you charging? Is it like a subscription, Michelle?
A little bit.
A
Yeah,
little bit like a subscription or a little bit of money?
both. And so like you can sign up for a discount for a longer period of time, but it can be month to month if you want it, or you get a discount if you like sign up for three months. So, and then you get access to me, to Renee, to our clinical person, to like all our biocompatibility, like whoever you need for what you're doing, we can plug in for that fee for 2 hours a month.
I know you
And
did
then on
do
top of
something
that, you
like
get
this.
like an office hours and like a general question,
Yep.
that would be
Nice.
good for the group.
Good luck with that. For those of you who are MDG premium members, Celia has promised that she will post a picture of their daughter in baby pictures. The rest of you, sorry, it's just one of the benefits.
What about pet pictures? Do you
We still
have dogs
that.
or cats?
You can do that. Absolutely. I think we still have a
But
pet
we
lover.
should have a channel
Not
for
as,
it.
it's not as, there aren't as many members in the pet lovers group, but you are certainly welcome to continue to share pictures of
No,
your.
all the pets that have an officer role at the company, right? Not professional pets like yours, right?
That's
They're
funny.
not on your C-suite, is that what you're saying?
Yes, only
Pets
those.
are actually pets instead of your bosses?
You're the only person I know that has her pets on the executive committee.
They're taskmasters, I'll tell you that.
I bet they are.
Mhm.
This
Well,
was
you
great.
guys did a great
Thanks for
job,
joining us today.
Celia and Miguel.
Absolutely. And nice surprise slipping in the wife part there that I had no idea to expect. So lovely to see you, Celia, and really great. Wishing you a lot of success. And I know you guys are on little sleep and you're doing a lot. You're welcome here any Friday to join us, perhaps at least 2 weeks from now when Michelle returns in her glory. It's been a while since we've had her as featured guest. Sean, I need at least 15 minutes to recharge, and then you and I reconnect and talk about 10X. And by the way, next week, Valentine's Day is the last of the early bird days for those of you who are planning to come to get in at a discount. Sean, thank you for coordinating this today, and thank you all for joining. We will see you next week. Goodbye for now.